Okay, recording has started.
Welcome everyone to the Montana State Library Commission's June meeting. I am Robin Scribner, Chairman of the MSL Commission, and I call this meeting to order. As your chair, I'm going to work to ensure that this commission has an effective meeting with a transparent decision-making process. I would like to ask our commissioners and staff to introduce themselves. Let's start with Brian.
Brian Rossman, Commissioner.
Peggy Taylor from Whitefish.
I'm Tammy Hall from Bozeman, and I'm in my first term here. I replaced Bruce and then was reappointed.
Carmen.
I'm Carmen Cuthbertson, Commissioner from Kalispell.
And Elsie.
Good morning, everyone. State Superintendent Elsie Arnson.
Okay, has Tom joined us? Okay, when Tom joins us, we'll have him introduce himself. Okay, and staff?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jenny Staff. I'm the Montana State Librarian.
Will we see them?
The camera won't be on the screen. The IT guy said it interferes with how things work. So he minimized it.
Okay, go ahead, Jen.
Genevieve Lighthizer, admin specialist with the State Library.
All right. I didn't ask Peggy, but if we have any questions about Robert's rules, Commissioner Peggy Taylor has agreed to help us. Another reminder, if we're struggling to phrase a motion, I as chair may allow a discussion on how the motion should be phrased. Not in all motions, but using my discretion, I may allow a limited discussion in the phrasing of the motion. With that being said, I would like to ask if there are any changes or additions to the agenda. Okay, as there are none, let's go on to Jenny for new staff introductions.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's my pleasure to introduce Gil Poolsma. Do you want to stand up, Gil?
Oh,
If you're welcome to. We hired Gil back in late April. He's been with us just about 2 months now as our Montana Library Network technical support. His job is really to provide customer service to the libraries that use a variety of our statewide services, like our OCLC group services program, our hotspot lending program. He provides support for libraries that are using our Aspen system, which is our library directory and tool that we use to track continuing education and other services. We hired Gil away from the Lewis and Clark Library, where he was serving in public services there. And Gil is a graduate of Carroll College from here in Helena. And the thing I want to say about Gil is he is just an absolute delight. He is warm and caring, and he provides excellent service to our librarians. We're just really grateful to have Gil on staff.
great.
Thank you very much, Jenny.
Well, nice to meet you, Gil. I think we met at MLA.
We have.
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Pleasure
Nice,
to see
nice
you
to
again.
see you again.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jenny.
And
And-
Tom is on.
Okay, Tom, would you like to introduce yourself? Good morning.
Yes, Tom Burnett in Bozeman, State Library Commissioner.
Thanks. Okay, anyone else, Jenny?
That's it.
Okay, that's,
Madam Chair,
yes.
question here from me. If I put, because this is going to have the agenda and everything on it, can I Zoom on my computer or my laptop and then I'll see them? Is that okay?
Join and then just mute it, and then that way, yeah, you can see it.
what they say? And okay, I'm gonna. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay. All right, we're on to the consent agenda. Does anyone want anything pulled from the consent agenda to be discussed separately? Okay, this includes the minutes from the April 17th and the April 10th meetings. Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded that we accept the consent agenda as is. Is there any further discussion? Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will now vote on the motion, which is to accept the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say no. I say aye too, sorry. Okay, the consent agenda has been approved by a voice vote. Okay, our next item is the final state aid formula administrative rules to add tribal college libraries. Are there any questions that need to be asked to make this more understandable? If not, is there a motion to accept the final state aid formula administrative rules to add tribal libraries?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could we have the staff answer the question? Will any library receive less through this formula than presently?
Commissioner, this is Jenny. I'm happy to answer that question. And there's sort of two parts to that answer. At present, libraries received a 10-cent increase in the last legislative session. And because this administrative rule change was not in place when we distributed the funding in FY24, libraries, the public libraries, excluding the tribal libraries, received that full increase from the legislative authorization from last session. With the addition of tribal college libraries, libraries will receive less than they received in FY24. However, all libraries will receive an increase over what they received in FY23 and previous years because of that increase in funding that was approved in the last legislative session. So there was a one-time increase that public libraries received in FY24 that will be slightly reduced by this administrative rule change. Again, all libraries will receive an increase over what they were receiving prior to FY24.
Thank you, Jenny. Follow-up, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Are all 7 tribal college libraries qualified to receive this at present?
Commissioner Burnett, we anticipate about 4 of the tribal college libraries will complete the process of submitting the report on achieving the public library standards, not all 7.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the final state aid formula administrative rules to add tribal libraries?
I move,
Go ahead, Tom.
I move to accept this rule change.
Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded that we accept the final state aid formula administrative rules to add tribal libraries as is. Is there any further discussion? Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing no further discussion or comment, we will now vote on the motion, which is to accept the final state aid formula administrative rules to add tribal libraries. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say no. Okay, the final state aid formula administrative rules to add tribal libraries has been accepted by a voice vote. Okay, now we are on now to the fiscal year 2025 budget requests. Are there any questions that need to be asked to make this more understandable before we make a motion? Okay, is there a motion to accept the fiscal year 2025 budget requests?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I do have a question.
okay.
On the line item affecting State Library Commission meetings for $20,000, I'm unclear as to what that would accomplish, if that would force most or all of our meetings to a Zoom structure, if that's what's anticipated by the staff proposal.
I had a question about that also. So is that, they would make most of our meetings Zoom meetings then, potentially?
Potentially, that's correct. There's I believe it's $2,500 in the budget for commission meetings. That would largely cover the per diem for commissioners, but the recommendation would be that we accomplish the work via Zoom.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm not in favor of that broad of a move in regarding our meeting structure. I would be fine with reducing our meeting to what's statutorily required, which I think is 4, it might be 6. And perhaps one of our regularly scheduled meetings, maybe one of the 6, be Zoom. But I'm in favor of in-person meetings as a standard and Zoom as a potential variation in 1/6 or 1/4 of the cases.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I did look up our bylaws, et cetera, and it does not refer to the meeting. However, the open meeting law says that we will meet 6 times. And so in the standards of that, I've got a copy here if anybody wants it. So we are to meet 6 times. And I'm in agreement with Tom that I think that maybe 1 or 2 Zoom meetings, we do that usually. But I feel very strongly that we need to meet in person, know the staff, see the reports. And it's, and I think it's a reasonable way to do our work in something that's very crucial. But I have a general question on this whole process right here. And I didn't know if I could ask that before.
Should we get a motion first? I'm not sure.
I don't know how we make a motion on it until we
Okay.
have the info, but it's up
Okay.
to you.
Okay, that's fine.
Mm.
I just didn't,
Right.
I'm not sure
Mm.
either, but go ahead.
Would this be a good time to ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was trying, Melissa, to understand that this is the recordation fees. And this is for every document with the real estate transaction, but it's the Montana Geospatial Information Act. Now, there's some items on here that refer to that projects that come under that. But there's also some items that aren't part of that, like Montana Library to Go, the courier service, are part of the meeting, the Natural Heritage Program, the History Portal. So my question was, did we always fund these projects through the MGIA money, or are we taking these out of general fund and shifting them into this so they're cut, but then the general fund isn't cut? Is that how we're doing it? I
So,
was confused.
Yeah, we have several main funding sources
Mhm.
that support the operations of the library. Some can only be spent on very specific things. And then we have some funds that are more broadly, we can spend those. So yes, that's true that we did take off some of the weight off of those other funds to alleviate general fund to support the agency as a whole. So we see our work as really prioritizing the agency's priorities in a holistic viewpoint. And we know that this downward trend in funding is temporary. We know that there are swings and ebbs and flows. And so it's our desire to only make temporary cuts and changes. And so what that means is that we need to retain our staff. That's our most valuable asset that we have. And so this was a way that we were able to not have any rifts or layoffs, maintain the most high priority items, operations in the agency, and sort of just weather this downward trend.
Okay, and we're allowed to move the money like that. Like the MGIA money was not specifically for the Montana Geospatial Information Act.
So essentially what we're just getting less geospatial information money. So we're shifting more of our general fund dollars to help support those operations while the revenues are down. Yes.
Okay. But we're cutting out items that weren't even in that budget. Or were they? Like
So,
this
so when
part of
there's,
courier
less
service.
money in this pot,
Right.
we're gonna take more from this pot and put it here.
Mhm.
So, so
And
that,
cut it out of here.
that is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
Cut it out of this
That is
Montana
true.
geospatial. What does it do then to the hole in the pot in the general funds? They'll just show that it was cut.
I'm not quite sure what your question
I'm
is.
not either.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
trying to
I think
visualize.
what you're trying to ask is that are we shifting funds
Yeah.
between programs? And the answer to that is yes.
Yes. Okay.
Answer to that is yes.
All right. And so then is the other one, where it came from, is that showing the loss?
That is where a reduced service is being offered. Yes.
Okay.
In the other fund.
That was
I
my,
have a,
go ahead. Go ahead. Help.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Yes, Carmen.
So Melissa, if I understand it right, if all the cuts happened in the items and people and positions and programs that are strictly funded by MGIA money, it would look like letting half the staff go, the program would practically collapse. And that's what you're trying to avoid by shifting the pain to the whole agency in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption, Carmen.
Okay.
Sorry.
So you discussed internally what might not be a priority, what could be cut without grave consequences and without losing employees. Is that right?
That is true.
Okay.
And my question, just for clarity too, was, are we allowed to do that? Was the Montana Geospatial Information Act money to go to programs within that umbrella?
So we're very careful to only spend dollars as the statute that surrounds that funding source is allowed. We're very careful about that. Auditors look at that all year long. That's a basic like ethical
It
rule
just,
that I follow.
I'm not sure, it just seems, if it's ethical and you say it is, I believe you, but it just seems that if that's where the cut is, and that's what the money was used for, was all that, then to go back to the general fund and pull out items like the courier service
But
and the Montana Library to go. I understand what you're saying. If we did it within here, we'd lose a really big program.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that, but then that's where yeah. So what you're saying is basically we're taking out, if I'm seeing this right, and it takes me a while, if we're moving 35,000 to the courier service over here, and then we're moving something from the MGIA funding over to general fund, because we're cutting the courier service over here now, but keeping what was in the MGIA.
that's true.
Okay, that's what we're doing,
That-
and that's okay to do.
So general fund is appropriated to our agency to support the general operations
Yeah.
of our agency. And, that's what we pride ourselves in, is being able to spend those dollars in the most efficient way and the most thoughtful way so that we can keep the agency healthy and providing the services that we're required to provide.
And I have another question. Sorry about this, but I'm trying to get all this clear in my head. In a way, then, are we saying that the Montana Geospatial Information Act money, it's more important to protect the jobs affiliated with that than the jobs that go back to the local service of the libraries, which is the courier service, the Montana Library to Go. This cut was aimed at those items in the geospatial, but we're saying some of these other items are gonna be cut instead of it.
Right. So it was a two-part. First of all of these decisions were incredibly difficult.
I
and,
bet they were. I really do.
I
think
do
it-
want to say, like, that was one of the hardest several weeks that we've had, certainly my tenure at the library. So none of this was done haphazardly. But I know that this is a short-term issue. And so the most, first of all, I want to say we're not cutting jobs anywhere.
Right, good.
There are no changes to positions. And so these are short-term changes in how we will fund programs. And we know that the expertise and the knowledge of our tenured GIS professionals are invaluable to our agency, specifically that's the GIS side. And so it's imperative that we've put time and money, there's been a lot of time and money and love and care that we've put into creating this program. And so, when the storm comes, you want to protect the bones of the house, right? So we want to keep that foundation strong so we can weather this storm. And then when the dollars rebound, then we can begin the hard work of building back up those programs that we did have to make temporary cuts to. But it's imperative that you keep the bones and the structure intact during that time. And so that's sort of the illustration that we used going through this decision-making process. And as unappealing as this budget is to bring to you, I feel confident that we can get through this storm with this budget and then work to rebuild the programs across the state as time allows and as funding allows.
Okay. And there are some cuts to the Montana Geo information. There are some.
I would argue that the majority of the cuts are there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
About 1.4 of the 1.5 plus are coming out of the geospatial programs.
Yeah, good.
And the other thing I would add about the cuts that we're proposing for the services that impact our other programs. Some of the services are things that really, they don't have an immediate impact. For
Mhm.
example, the digitization of our state government publications. We can hold on to any print publications that we have that we would digitize. And when the funding rebounds, they will be digitized. So there might be a delay in when they get digitized, but that could still happen. The courier funding was really intended to expand the existing courier.
Mhm.
It's not going to have a negative impact
Okay.
on the
Okay.
courier as it exists, but you all know that it's important to us to expand the courier. This cut will delay the opportunity to do that, but not impact that existing program. So, these, as Melissa said, these are very, very difficult decisions, but we tried to be incredibly thoughtful in making decisions that are temporary in nature and don't undermine those services for the long future.
Thank you for that hard work. Is the MTSRN technician not filled at this time?
That's correct.
Is that's not a new job?
That was an FTE that was appropriated in the last legislature to support the Montana Spatial Network that we have not filled at this point. So we would delay hiring that position.
Okay. I would point out again that we are mandated by the state to meet in person, and I know Zoom is considered legally that way. I would ask that that item be taken out when we vote, and so we can discuss it separately. The MSL commission vote, maybe have 2 meetings Zoom and not all of them.
Could I get clarification before, if you all make a motion for that, would that be, so there's a list there of all the meetings that would be
Right.
moved to Zoom. So would it be just the commission meeting or all of those meetings?
I know that this sounds like politically, oh dear, they're protecting themselves and none of the rest of this. The part that goes with the geospatial meetings obviously has to be cut because it's part of this geospatial that's being cut. And so I guess if you needed to give reasoning for the other ones, we would have to discuss that, what the travel budget is now, what it's going down. I just know by statute, we need to meet. So I think that's just required by law. Now, is this budget, when will this this goes through till June of 25.
Yes.
Okay, so this is for the next year. That, and are we sure this is a bounce and things will go back up? Or is that just a hope?
I mean, all I can do is look at history, and
Yeah,
that's what's happened
That's
historically.
what's happened before. If the interest rates go back down, I can tell you we will see it go up. But if the interest rates stay high, everybody I've talked to in every city and state of the state is saying only those moving in and those who have to move out are moving, but people aren't trying to move up in homes or businesses because the interest rate will kill them. So, okay,
I
that's
don't know
my
if this is
question.
appropriate time, but I'll ask this question. Is there something that we can do in the next session to help with a situation like this where our funding is dependent on the recording fees? Is there something we can do to be proactive to prevent this from keeping to reoccur, or if it doesn't bounce back?
Commissioner Taylor, I can tell you based on other funding sources, and Melissa's exactly right. There is a historical trend of this revenue going up and down with changes in the economy. This is the lowest we have ever seen it. This is the lowest since the inception of this fee. Looking at other sources of revenue, Melissa mentioned that we have about 4 primary sources of revenue. Another source is the Coal Severance Tax Fund that's earmarked for basic library services. In the 2021 legislative session, Governor Gianforte's administration proposed legislation that said if the cash in the coal severance tax did not meet our appropriation, it could be backfilled with general fund. So that's a possible solution that the commission would need to consider, whether or not you would want to direct us to seek support from the governor's office to pursue that kind of legislation. Again, that's legislation that only touches the general fund if the coal severance tax fund doesn't collect enough cash. And thus far, we've seen good cash rolling into that account, so we haven't had to rely on that legislation, but it does give us a little bit of an assurance that we would at least see that amount that's appropriated. So that's one proactive option.
And along with that one, the if attempts right now by the administration in Washington are successful, we will lose the coal strip plant. And then we will not have coal severance. So we will be taking a big chunk, so will schools. So that's maybe not a positive outlook for that right now, but it is a reality. Yeah.
Carmen has her hand up. I need to recognize her. Carmen? Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Can you actually see me on the screen or not?
Mm,
No, we can't. I mean, those who have their laptops in front of them can, but IT minimize the person.
Okay, I'm just asking because then it doesn't make much sense for me to try to raise my hand online. Okay, thank you.
Oh, I see it in the participant list, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I have a question about the 20,000.
yes, go ahead.
If I heard correctly, 2,500 out of that is the commissioners. What is the rest made out of to get to where we could save $20,000 by having Zoom meetings instead of in-person meetings? Or are we actually talking about not meeting at all?
No, let me clarify that. So we're required to meet by law, and so we can meet in a number of ways, in person, over Zoom, electronically in some way. Those are all allowable ways for us to conduct business. So for the reduction that you see on this budget, that is the travel piece. So I reduced all of these commissions and committees by their travel costs, and then did leave per diem amounts in there because I believe we're statutorily required to pay per diem anytime business is being done. So there are still some dollars in each of these budgets for these committees. But I did reduce it by the travel piece. So it doesn't preclude us from meeting in person, but I did remove the budget to fund travel reimbursements.
So not just the per diem, but the hotel room. Both of those, that would be the travel cost. Is the per diem, the per diem, the mileage and the hotel room.
No, the per diem is not being cut. It's the hotel and the mileage
Okay,
that are being cut. Yeah, and previously, has anyone ever been paid for a Zoom meeting?
I do not, I continue to take the money, that $100, you can check if you don't want it, and I know many commissioners do.
Okay.
But I have legal bills as a result of the commission work, so I'm gonna make sure I keep getting that 100 till I've caught up on my legal bills that came as a result of serving on this.
Yeah, as long as duties performed, you get it if you're.
Okay, yes. I personally have never been paid per diem for Zoom calls. I wasn't even sure how to even file
And
for
I
that.
asked Genevieve about this the other day. And so when she sends the form every month after a meeting, then you just put your date, your.
Okay,
per
I
diems.
never received a form after Zoom meetings.
The worksheet that I
Uh-huh.
send you guys, when it asks, do you want your per diem, that says how many days are you claiming the per diem for? That's when
Oh,
you can put your,
okay.
and
so
I know
that's what
people
you do.
have put like multiple days.
Oh, okay, okay. Has anybody, Peggy, have you, or, I mean, yeah, okay, all right, I was just
I
wondering. if
think we
anybody-
talked about it at a meeting, and it used to say if you wanted it, you had to check.
Right, but yeah.
And we changed
Okay.
it to if you don't want it,
Right,
you check.
okay. I was
Because the first year I didn't know it was even there, so I
I had
didn't
no
check it.
idea about okay.
Yeah, I didn't check it either.
Okay, so, can we get him, yes,
Can I-
Brian?
A point of clarification, so with this, it is on. So with this reduction, does that mean if we have in-person meetings that we will not be reimbursed for mileage?
That's what that means.
Aren't we required by law to
I
be
was gonna
reimbursed?
say,
I
I was gonna
believe
say,
so,
yeah,
too.
we can't not legally reimburse you for travel if you
I
travel.
mean,
Right,
I
that's what I
understand
thought
not
too.
saying we're not going to have hotel rooms, but
Well, even for Carmen and I mean, and Peggy at times, it's difficult
mhm.
for us to travel. Like this morning, I could have very easily been late because of, and even though I left at 6:30 this morning, we could have easily have been late for the meeting, and we have to set it back to 10 o'clock. So, I mean, it will be a struggle for
I
us to get.
did look up the law on this, and we are required to meet 6 times a year. And as I said, I will later make the motion that we can have 2 Zoom. But they are required to reimburse us, and there are almost 100 under now. There used to be over 2 or 300 commissions and committees, but that are appointed by the state, and we all have to follow the same law. So, but by open meeting law, we have to have 6 meetings, and we are to be reimbursed. And you can, if you choose, not take that, but it has to be reimbursed for hotel and whatever. I would like to make a motion that we vote for this budget as proposed, except the MSL commission travel, taking that out.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
Madam
We
Chair,
discuss it after.
Madam Chair, I'd like to amend the motion.
Mhm.
Okay,
I'd
just
like
one
the
second.
motion-
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
She's
Sorry.
getting the motion typed up, and then Tom, you can go ahead and amend it. I'll let you know when she's finished.
Does that
Or can
motion,
you see it?
does that motion look correct to Tammy?
Tammy, does it?
Tammy, do you stand by that on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Tom, you can amend it.
Madam Chair, I move to amend the motion by striking the words starting with except and adding the words except
Sorry, hang on.
the Montana State Library Commission meetings line be altered to 3,500. 20,000 be stricken and 3,500 be entered. And I'll explain the amendment in a second.
Sorry, I can't see my screen, so just give me a second.
I'll second that motion for discussion.
1 sec, let me just.
That's
let me
fine.
Make sure I have it. Amendment by Tom Burnett to remove. And add. Tom, does that motion look acceptable, how it's typed?
That is good.
Thank you.
And Commission, the purpose of this amendment is much like the original motion, but it reflects keeping the travel and keeping 5 of the 6 meetings in the year being in-person meetings, and 1 would be Zoomed. Because 3,500 is approximately 1/6 of the $20,000 figure. So this motion would be, this amendment allows for 5 in-person meetings and 1 Zoom meeting a year with the same reimbursement structure as present.
May I ask Melissa a question? Is that 20,000 covered? That's our full budget for our travel?
That's
Or was
correct.
that only part?
Yep, that's mileage, hotels.
Everything?
Yep.
Okay, so, so you divided it by 6, Tom, and it came up to about that?
Yeah.
Okay, would it be easier if I just made the motion to say reducing that fee to 3,500? Leave it all as one motion?
Well,
because I would be willing to withdraw the motion and make it over.
it's been seconded.
It's been seconded, so you can.
I was just gonna have us discuss that issue separately.
Yeah, let's vote on the amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
we'll just
let's
do
do
that.
that. Okay,
Okay, so there's been an amendment by Tom Burnett to remove, except the MSL commission travel being taken out and add to change the commission line item of $20,000 to $3,500.
okay.
Okay. Is there a motion to second it?
I would, I did second it.
You second it. Okay, got it. Okay,
I
thank
would
you.
move to accept the amendment by Tom.
Okay, so that's a second. Okay, so let's have a vote. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Sorry.
Madam Chair, I abstain.
Oh,
You
thank
abst-
you.
Okay. Can you move it
Oh, no,
down so
sorry.
I can see it? Sorry.
Yeah, 1 second, I got it. Yes, I gotta make notes, I don't think- Give me 1 second, so sorry. Okay, so now let me fix the main motion.
Okay,
Give me 1 second.
should I read
No,
that?
let me
okay.
cut and paste it and put it
Okay.
correctly. Okay, does that look correct, Tammy, as the new main motion?
that looks great. Thank you for your hard work.
Okay, so now, is there a motion? Okay, so the motion has been made by Tammy Hall to move to accept the FY 24 budget request, 25, budget request, except to change the commission line item of $20,000 to $2,500.
3,500.
30, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, to $3,500. So is there any more comment? Is there any more discussion? Is there any public comment?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would like us to keep all our meetings in person. I'm not that concerned with the reimbursements, but I understand that we have rules to follow. But I see this a little bit as a slippery slope of us going to Zoom meetings. And I'm on Zoom right now because I have to be. But I much prefer if we keep as a goalpost that all our meetings are in person. I think it is much easier to discuss and really come to good conclusions by meeting in person. So I don't approve of this motion and of us purposefully moving one entire meeting to Zoom.
All right, so now we'll have the vote. Okay.
I would share with Commissioner Carmen. I actually feel the same way. I really think it's important for being in touch with the staff and being in touch with our job and what's being done. And I take very seriously the state mandate. I appreciate Tom's working out one meeting because I think we have to revisit this if the economy doesn't bounce back. But I'm willing to do the one to share in the pain, you know, but.
Okay. Is there any further discussion or public comment?
I have a question.
Okay, Carmen?
Melissa, does this force you to go back and find $16,500 elsewhere to cut?
Yes.
Okay.
I can do
Is that much harder than finding $20,000 to cut?
Melissa, we probably can't hear you.
That's because I wasn't saying anything. I mean, I can go back, excuse me, I can go back and dig some more. I will say that this is an extremely tight budget. We looked at we turned over every single rock. We included things like having fewer mail deliveries so that there would be, I mean, we were down to that kind of level. So, you know, that's my job. I can figure that out and make it work, but we are, I do want you all to understand that like this is almost 20% of our budget. It's a really severe and deep cuts, but I'll go back and do my best.
Thank you. And I guess my comment is I am willing to contribute to money-saving measures by foregoing reimbursements personally, but I know I can't ask that of other current or future commissioners. But I'll vote no because I do not want us to move purposefully to meeting online.
Okay. Anyone else? Any further discussion, comments? Brian?
I would just observe that along with what Commissioner Hall said, I think that it's the optics of the commission being the only group here, like the NAC is getting cut, MGIA is getting cut. I think we should all be cut if the cuts are necessary. I don't think that it's appropriate for the commission to look after itself and let the others be cut. So I think I'll be voting against this motion as well.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would only put in there, this is not a selfish move on our part. It will be perceived that way. I agree. It will be perceived that way. That's the political ramifications, but it is a statutory mandate that we meet and that we do our job by knowing what's going on with staff, following staff, being aware of it, etc. So it's a little different than some of the other items that are not statutory. That's what I would say.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Todd?
I will add that the requirement to meet was made before Zoom meetings became possible too. So that was envisioned in the original in the original requirements. So that's further justification for maintaining our part of the foundation and supporting walls of the bones of this organization. I'm voting yes for the motion as amended.
Okay, any further comment or discussion? Any more public is there any public comment? Okay, if not, right, it is time to vote. Okay, seeing there is no further discussion, we will now vote on the motion, which is to move to accept the FY 25 budget request, except to change the commission line item of $20,000 to 3,500. Is there an and there?
Oh, just no, there's.
Okay.
For me to put the next.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say
Aye.
no.
No.
Sorry, okay, thank you. All opposed say no.
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 Okay. So the fiscal 25 budget request except to change the commission line item of $20,000 to 3,500 has been passed by a voice vote. Okay, so we are on to the FY 2025 Federation's plans of service. Jenny. Yes.
I just want to thank Melissa for giving me that clarity. I know I was very confused, but it helped me understand the whole picture. So thank you.
Okay, Jenny.
And Madam Chair, I would like to invite Kara Orban. Is Kara here?
Yeah, she's behind the
Behind the-
podium. And there she is.
Kara is available for questions if there's any questions on the FY 25 plans of service.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Kara, I noticed that in most of these plans, there seems to be one library on the part where the amounts that are passed through to the individual libraries are listed. There's always one library that seems to get 3 or 4 times more, or in most of these plans. And I'm just wondering, does that go back to the headquarters?
The hosting,
Or the what is it called?
hosting of
The
the meetings,
coordinator,
the
libraries.
coordinator.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah,
Madam
that-
Chair, Commissioner, that's correct. Those libraries are the Federation Coordinator Libraries, and they receive a stipend for managing the reporting and meeting logistics, and in some cases, hosting and continuing education activities of the Federation.
So that's a follow-up question. So that's different from the coordinator stipend?
Yeah.
That is in the plans as well? That's something that doesn't go to the coordinator, but to the headquarters library of the Federation?
That's correct. For example, in Tamarack, the Olson, the North Lake County Library District receives additional funds because they host the meeting, they coordinate training and catering and everything on behalf of the Federation.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So in each library then, or each federation, then the administrator gets a fund and then the extra money for the annual meetings. Just, that's what it costs for
Yes.
the costs, okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I had, thank you, Carmen, for asking that. I was curious why the discrepancy between the various federations on some of them have continuing ed, some of them do not. The stipend for administration does vary. I think the Laurel one, there's all, not quite double, but almost what everybody else sort of is. And then, the annual meetings and whatnot are a separate item from below.
Mhm.
So I'm having a hard time understanding why all the libraries in a federation get 2,100 or 22, same, but then there's one who gets 10. And it seems like some of that expense is also up above, but you're saying it's not?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Hall.
Yeah, thank you. Help.
The allocation of funding for federations is laid out in administrative rule. And so and the reason that the federations receive a different amount of funding is half of the funding is divided equally among the 6 federations. And then the other half is allocated on the basis of population within the 6 federations. And so that's why the total amounts are different. And then the total amount for the federation is divided up in the plan of service, and then the federation votes on that plan of service at their spring federation meeting.
One more question for Kara, please.
Go ahead, Carmen.
Hold on. I seem to remember, but maybe it was just a discussion and never any action taking on it, that the concept of the main library helping all the little libraries or something that was abandoned, because it was in the beginning how the federations kind of started, that the main library in the area had the job to kind of help more small public libraries to get established in their federation area. Do you remember any discussion about that? That concept was no longer valid?
Let me jump in and help a little bit. I think that was originally the intent of the legislation, and you actually see other models like that in other states where there's councils or regional councils. In Montana, the language is federations. Historically, over the years, over the decades, the nature of how those federations have provided services within their regions has changed. For example, going on 30 years ago now, the Pathfinder Federation was one where some of the libraries actually joined together to form their own shared catalog. And once the statewide shared catalog was formed, those libraries joined the Montana Shared Catalog. There's nothing in statute that prevents federations from taking on those kinds of collaborative efforts. We've seen collaborative book club programs, other kinds of shared resources within those federations, and that is all allowable under the statute. And if a federation wanted to pursue something like that, the process by which they would do that is to articulate that in their plan of service and then allocate the funds according to those priorities within their plan of service. Does that help?
Yeah, and I mean, we can see that they all do that. They have assorted, different administrative expenses, and one of them mentioned their shared book kits expense. So that all makes sense. I was just curious about the headquarter library, but I get it. And as long as the federations are okay with allocating 3 to 4 times the funds to whichever library they consider the headquarters in their federation, then that's their business. Thanks. I just wanted clarity on that.
Sure.
Okay, I have a question also. When we voted to have $4,000 added extra for trustee training, I don't see, like on a couple of them, the continuing education. I was thinking that would probably be under there. But it's.
Madam Chair, yes. Some of the federations elected to centralize their trustee training at the federation meetings. For example, this spring, some of the federations hosted the MSU Local Government Center to do a board focused training. And then others opted to divide that funding out equally to each of the libraries so that they may decide for themselves what their boards need to prioritize.
I see. Okay.
What would it be under then on this budget?
Commissioner Hall, in that case, it would be allocated, I believe that was allocated evenly to each of the libraries if they opted not to do a centralized training. the
So it's
forecast.
underneath each individual library and they don't provide
Mhm.
individual library budget cutout, yeah, I mean, budget.
Exactly,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
The Federation used the 4,000 to bring in MSU and to do one training. It should be reflected maybe under continuing ed. Or,
In the budget, you might see a higher amount for an annual meeting that would
Yes, I
include
just saw
that
that.
training. In other budgets, you would see larger amounts going to the individual libraries, and that includes the funding for trustee training. I can tell you in the Federation meetings, when they were approving these plans of service, all the federations talked about how much they appreciate and the importance of having
Mhm.
funding for trustee trainings. And I think you see that called out in the language of the priorities of the continuing education, but it's not necessarily called out as line items within those budgets.
Yeah, like,
Um,
as you say, in the annual meeting, like for the Broad Valley, it has 6,500 for their annual meeting and nothing for continuing ed. So that probably includes that.
That's right.
And then like in the Golden Plains, it is in continuing ed and so forth. Then you just keep on, okay, I see.
so, Madam Chair, I was looking at Tamarack as an example, but pretty typical. They're all pretty typical. Like I said, Laurel seems to take a double fee, almost double from what the others do, but otherwise they're pretty much around 1,400, 15. But they had at Tamarack 5,000 for the annual meetings. And you're saying much of that might have been to bring in somebody with this money we gave for training of it. It's not necessarily to send people to the annual meeting of, or something. Yeah.
Commissioner Hall, that's correct. Tamarack hosts a spring meeting, which is a 2-day meeting, and this year it was in Polson, and that covers the cost of travel and hotel for trustees and directors to attend in person, and they also had an invoice for the MSU Local Government Center and for catering
I
and
see. Okay.
the overall costs of that spring meeting.
So in addition to that 5,000, then when you look down under the libraries, everybody's 3,600 and North Lake County Public Library is 10,000. And is that
They host
further
the meeting.
because they hosted it?
Yes,
So,
And she's the administrator.
right.
yes.
I have one comment.
Yes.
Perhaps when they do their annual report, we can really encourage them to report on their trustee and their continuing education.
Great. Good idea.
Part of our discussions at the Federation meetings this spring was to gather input from trustees and directors about the value of the Federation structure and how we could increase the value of continuing education and clarify the role of the trustee at Federation meetings. And so we gathered a lot of good input and are using that to inform our training and our work with the Federation coordinators going forward.
Okay. Are there any further questions? If not, I'm going to call for a motion to accept the fiscal year 2025 Federation's plans of service. Could I have a motion, please?
I move.
I
we-
so move.
I'll second it then.
Okay, Carmen has moved and Peggy seconded. It has been properly moved and seconded that we accept the Federation's plans of service as is. Is there any further discussion? Is there any public comment? Seeing no further discussion, we will now vote on the motion.
It's
Which-
going to be. Are we on?
Okay, which is, the motion is to accept the FY 25 Federation plans of service as is. We will now, okay, so all in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Okay, the fiscal 2025 Federation's plans of service has been accepted as is and the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kara. Okay, we are ahead of schedule. Glory, hallelujah, yes. Okay, okay. Okay, we will now go on to discussion items. First is the MLSL staff and the Trust for Montana Libraries. Jenny, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. A reminder that after the meeting in April, when the commission chose to not move forward with the memorandum of agreement with the Trust for Montana Libraries, we were asked to bring back information about what the staff's role in working with the Trust for Montana Libraries might look like going forward. So I wanted to let you know that since that action in April, the Trust for Montana Libraries has met. They did decide to amend their bylaws to remove references to the state library, and they're also updating their articles of incorporation to reflect that change. The trust has said that they are committed to funding collaborative library programs through direct grants to libraries. So in the future, it would be possible for the state library to apply for funds from the Trust for Montana Libraries to help fund some of our work. The other thing that the trust said that they would be focused on is helping libraries to promote their services to their communities. And so I think MSL's role in their work going forward would be in largely providing responses to information requests in the same way that we respond to information requests from other organizations. For example, the Trust for Montana Libraries is interested in raising funds to help all libraries have AEDs in their facilities. And the trust reached out to the state library to ask which libraries don't currently have AEDs. We would respond to those kinds of information requests in the future.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Carmen?
Jenny, which are the two documents they are in the process of updating, the articles of incorporation, and which document?
They have updated their bylaws. In the previous bylaws, the state librarian and the commission had ex officio representation on the trust board, and they amended those documents to remove
Hey,
that.
Aaron, we're getting really close. Can you pop on soon?
And so if I understand it correctly, those two documents are finished, not in progress? Follow-up question to Jenny. Are those two documents finished or are they in progress still? I am not hearing anybody speak. I don't know if I can't be heard or if the microphones are not on.
I can hear you,
Thank you.
but I also do not hear anybody else.
I can hear you, Carmen.
Yeah, I think the room got muted somehow.
I'll send a message to Genevieve.
No, that's not.
Mm.
That's why we don't need.
All right, folks at home, we're on a 5-minute break. Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can.
Thank
Yes.
you. Sorry, that was my error. We got it fixed.
Tiny. And I, even with my new glasses, it's not very private.
Genevieve, this is Superintendent Arnson. Would you please share with me where on the agenda we are at this point?
Yeah, we are at the noon item under discussion items, MSL staff and trust for Montana libraries.
Excellent. We are almost an hour ahead of schedule.
I know.
I love government when it's efficient. Thank you. Appreciate
welcome.
that.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
I live in Bozeman, so probably. Yeah, I'm in Bozeman line. Yeah, I know, instead of the snow.
We don't do it. Picked over.
Yeah.
And all day. But
Mhm.
it could be your Bozeman fault.
Happy.
Yeah.
You know?
We might go start with that one. It just, it doesn't pay to do it earlier. It just freezes.
I know, yeah, vegetables too.
Kelly found some wonderful corn though at Cashman's that is short growing and
Oh.
lasts a month. Wow. And it's that white and orange, wonderful corn. But it's made for our growing season. And we also found out from Cashman's, there's a Winnipeg roses that are grown in Winnipeg and they're designed for low temperature. And you don't have to cover them or anything, you just let them go and they went all winter, they're absolutely gorgeous.
And are they spreading? or-
Oh, they're all
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
You just cut back the dead ones then at the spring, but they're designed to go to 30 below.
Wow, so they'll almost make it, right?
Yeah. Winnipeg roses. Thank you for helping me.
Okay.
Mess. More room you give me, the more I'll use.
Mhm.
Thank you, Melissa, that was really helpful.
Okay. Yeah.
And we are back.
Okay, we are back. We got our technical difficulty taken care of. Is,
And Commissioner Cuthbertson had asked a question about the progress on the two documents. So Commissioner Cuthbertson, the Trust for Montana Libraries has revised their bylaws. That work is complete. They're in the process of updating their articles of incorporation.
Carmen, did you hear that?
Please double check if those online can hear us. Can you hear us, guys?
I can hear you.
Okay, she might have just stepped away. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Tom.
I have a follow-up question for Jenny.
Sure, go ahead.
Would you please restate what you said? Everything between the bylaws and articles and the AEDs, there were 2 bullet points of substance in there. Would you restate those, please, Jenny?
Sure, the trust board committed that they are still interested in funding collaborative library programs through direct grants to libraries. So as a direct granting agency, the state library could apply for funds through the trust in the future. And then the trust said that they're committed to helping libraries find a way to promote their services to their communities.
Thank you.
Okay.
Question, Madam.
Yes.
Chair. One of the things that we were going to discuss today about that was the role. And I think what I'm hearing is that people will have access, as they always do, to Jenny and our staff for information. But any requests they have or whatever would come to us if they need anything official. We would have, because they would come to us like any other group would. Is that what I'm
Can
hearing?
you give me an example of something official that you have in mind? I'm thinking about information requests that
I
they would
think if
send to
they're
us.
asking information about what could you use money for? And, you know, you said the courier service, and then they wanted to gift us with courier money or whatever to use. Wouldn't that come before the commission then? Because we are in charge of the budget, so we'd have to approve that we're getting this influx of money. And
Does that
doesn't
come under
with
where?
any
Okay.
strings, or what
Right,
is it?
right.
You know, wouldn't anything financial come to us?
Okay, so she said that the MSL could apply for funds, but they really wouldn't accept we wouldn't accept funds, correct? Or without?
We receive grant funds all the time
Mhm.
from different kinds of organizations. And the commission has always approved those programs or projects
Mhm.
that we're seeking grant funds
Okay.
for. It's not typical for the commission to approve us seeking those grant funds, but ensuring that you know how those funds are being used and that they're used for projects that the commission has approved.
Okay.
Does that answer? your
Yes, I
question?
think I was talking about it the opposite direction.
Mhm.
I think I was talking about if they wanted to give us money. You're saying
I
they
see.
may want to apply for money.
No,
we
we
would
would have to
apply.
apply for funds from them.
Okay.
They wouldn't necessarily
right.
just directly.
So you
give
don't
us
see a
money.
case in which they are applying for our monies?
I do not.
Okay, good. I thank you for that.
You bet. Mhm.
And it would come before the commissioners at least to say they want part of this, they want to give into this grant program or whatever, just so we knew it was coming from them.
You typically see any grant funds that we receive if we're applying for a grant from an organization like the National Resource Conservation
Right.
Service. We have an ongoing grant from them. You see all of that in your financial reports.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question or not.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand. So now if they want to give us money, we would get it from them by applying for a grant.
I
Well-
think the distinction is they wouldn't just want to give us money.
Right.
They would say, we have grant funding available and libraries could apply for those grant funds. And the state library would be one of any number of libraries that would apply for grant funds
just as we would apply for grant funds from other granting entities.
Have to initiate.
Mhm.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Tom?
in this case, I would like for us to be party to that request, for our commission to be party to that request or that application. Not just the staff applying.
So bringing a request for approval from the commission to apply for grant funds from the trust.
Yes.
I would express agreement with Tom on that. I would want to know that we were going to them for any kind of grant money and what for specifically, and if there was strings attached as to how it would be used, et cetera,
Before the application is made.
before the application is made. Is there any other feeling from the other people?
And I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Give me 1 second.
Carmen, are you here yet? Are you back?
Yes.
Yes, I don't have a problem with that.
Let me do a screen share one.
I think it would be that way with any group. You know, that asked us to approve a grant specifically for a certain kind of training. I think we'd want to know what it was that we were getting into.
I just want to be really clear. This is a pretty substantial departure from normal operations. For example, I know that staff have been looking at, I think it's a $7,500 grant for funding for an early literacy texting program, for example. It seems like a pretty significant effort to have to request commission approval for $7,500 for a program that's been ongoing for the state library for the better part of 15 years.
Okay, so how many grants do you usually apply for? That would, go ahead, Melissa.
I don't have an exact number, but that's a significant part of our workflow. So that would
Okay.
be a heavy lift for you all.
That if you have them in once, do they go all through the year or are they usually timed certain?
So we have a number of grants that they all have different time
Oh, they do.
frames. And I just want to be clear, so we don't just get money that's not overseen by anybody. So any dollars that we get outside of the legislative session go through the budget office still, and they have to approve it and put it into the accounting system. So there is oversight over every dollar that is spent through the governor's office.
And again, this commission has oversight over the projects and programs that those grant funds are helping to support. So we're not out getting grant funds for projects and programs that the commission isn't aware
The
of.
projects that are included in our budget, that's the work that we're going to do for the year. So we spend dollars in accordance with those projects that have been approved. There aren't new things that we would just go and create a new program in the middle of the year. So essentially how that looks is the commission approves the overarching projects and programs through the budget, and then we implement those. And the legislature gives us the dollars to implement those. If we receive a grant or something outside of that legislative session, then it goes through the budget office. So that happens quite frequently across all state agencies,
Right,
that
I would
grants are awarded during the interim. And so when that happens, in order to get those in the accounting system so that they can be spent, that request goes to the governor's budget office and they review and give the okay. And if they give the okay, then they put that appropriation in the accounting system so that we can spend it.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make my motion clear.
Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Any application for grant funds from Trust for Montana Libraries must be approved by the commission.
Would you explain why, Tom?
I don't, it may be a heavy lift to do this for all grant opportunities. May not be that heavy. But we made it plain at the last commission meeting that there'd be no relationship. And just because we have an ongoing program, or we've got our general workflow that we could use some more money for this part or another part of our work, could facilitate the request of the Trust for Montana Libraries funds by staff. And that's contrary to the notion that we passed, which was that they have their own organizational priorities and projects, and we have our statutory requirements, and that we would not be related. And so I want to make it specific that in this case, that at least for this granting organization, we want approval. We want the commission to be involved prior to any application being made.
Thank you for that. I would second it.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to that applications for grant funds from the Trust of Montana Libraries must be approved by the State Library Commission,
Let's put a period behind that, please.
period.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any public comment? Seeing no further discussion, we'll now vote on the motion for applications for grant funds from the Trust for Montana Libraries must be approved by the State Library Commission. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say no.
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 Elsie, did you vote? Okay, Elsie's not. Okay. Okay,
May I ask, another point on?
just
what
one
we're
second.
doing? Oh,
Just
yeah.
one second. It has been moved, it has been approved. Sorry, just a second. It has been accepted by a voice vote that the application for grant funds from the Trust of Montana Libraries must be approved by the State Library Commission. Okay, Tammy?
I know it may be somewhere in our budget, and we may be getting this, but somewhere at the end of the year or when we're reviewing our budget, it would be nice to have all the grants listed, and so we could see at one time all the grants. We could let you know ahead of time, which would be our responsibility. Is there any we wanted to have further up information on at a meeting? But just to have them listed would be helpful for me when we have these various grants we're getting. Does anyone else feel they would like that information?
It'd be interesting.
Okay, Tom would.
Yes.
I don't want to ask for that to be done if I'm the only one interested. Okay.
No, I think as far as, helping us understand the finances better and better, to understand how much of our budget is actually grants, I think would be helpful to know.
And then I'm just clarifying, the $11 million budget we have, does that include that grant money? That those various grant monies are in that budget?
Yes and no, but let me put it out.
Okay, I was trying to figure out if our whole budget was 11 million. And I was thinking there were additional items that were not included in that 11 million, but I wasn't sure. And I was gonna ask you, but this seems like a good place.
Let me put a document together so that it's easy to understand. And
Yeah.
I will list all of the dollars that are appropriated to the state library, and then we can separate out what we call House Bill 2, which is what the legislature approves, and then what's additional funding, grant funding that we
And
receive.
federal and whatever.
Yes, typically, yes. Yep,
Mm.
I can sort that by fund and by type.
I just remember when I first got on this commission, it was quite a bit higher because we had the COVID money.
Right.
And
Yep.
so the budget was significantly higher, but that was a one-time federal thing. So at some point I'd like, yes, thank you, to see the whole pocket.
Okay.
Thank you, honey. I mean, person.
We wanted to double check if Matt and Aaron were with us.
I am, and I think Aaron is too.
Great.
Perfect. Do either of you need
Yeah, I'm
to
here.
share screens at all?
I'll do a screen share whenever I'm ready, or whenever
Okay.
you're ready for me.
Yeah, I'll make you a co-host, Aaron. There you go.
Okay, welcome, Matt. Go ahead and introduce Aaron.
Yeah. MSL Commission. My name is Matt Trebish, and I am a GIS analyst with Montana State Library and an MGIA grant project manager, which includes the City of Great Falls fiscal year 24 grant. I would like to introduce to you today Aaron Vaughn. Aaron is the GIS coordinator for the City of Great Falls and has been doing GIS work there for about 6 years, over 6 years. He has been involved professionally with GIS since 2015 and was even a GIS intern at the MSL for the Water Information System back in 2016. He's been past secretary of the board of the Montana Association of Geographic Information Professionals and is an active member of our GIS community. Aaron has been his city's project manager for 2 MGIA grants for the City of Great Falls. His first grant was the Public Land Survey System, or PLSS, Control and Corner Recordation Gathering grant within Cascade County. It was awarded as an off-cycle grant in fiscal year 2022. He has continued the good work that was done in their first grant with a fiscal year 24 grant that was awarded to the City of Great Falls for continuation of the betterment of PLSS control and to obtain existing corner recordations for other needed areas within their county. These grants will substantially better the cartographic representation of all layers that are underpinned by the PLSS, including cadastral, boundaries, etc. Aaron has been an excellent grant partner whose participation in the MGIA grant program has bettered the quality of geospatial information in not only Great Falls and Cascade County, but has improved the overall quality of GIS data within the state of Montana. And with that, I'd like to introduce to you Aaron and Aaron Vaughn and his presentation on his fiscal year 2024 grant.
Well, thanks, Matt. I appreciate the intro and the kind background words. Yeah, the grant we've been doing through the MGF program has been pretty beneficial for us. And before I kick off this presentation, I just want to warn you, I am kind of in an open area, so there's a lot of background noise. So yeah, let me get to a screen share and I can kind of step through it for a little bit. See if I can work this out here. Go.
And now I don't.
Oops.
You should on yours, Tammy.
Now I do.
Does everybody see it?
Looks good, Aaron.
Okay. Right on. So yeah, like Matt was saying, we did a grant last season. It's an off-season grant in 2023 for the PLSS and getting monuments secured. And what that means, maybe to you all, is that like a lot of people in Montana, they use the sorry about this. They use what's called cadastral. we were looking up property lines and looking up whatever relating to boundaries and such. This really aids in getting that accurate, getting that really dialed in. And in the county and specifically around Great Falls, it's pretty important to us here at the GIS department to have those control points so we can more accurately get new property lines, changes in property boundaries, kind of dialed in and made more accurate for the public. And ultimately, it is for the public at large, both like private entities and common citizens. And with this control, I can kind of detail out a little bit of what is going on. So to get these sort of things, I'll give you a little background. We deal with what's called parcels, which are property lines. Those need some sort of a tie-in to make them as accurate as possible. And that tie-in is often done through these monuments, these PLSS points. These monuments have been established many years ago through the BLM, and they helped create our public land survey system. But from that time, they've been using technology that had been old for many of the reference to those monuments, and therein some inaccuracies were inherent. And so with our newer technology, modern day technology, we're able to get those sort of accuracies really honed and to the point. So what we do with the grant money from MGF is basically hire a survey contractor to go out there and find these monuments and give us basically a GPS point. It's a little bit more involved that, but if we get a GPS point, we can get some pretty accurate stuff. I'll give you, here's a bit of an example. On your right, you see a quick snippet I made of an area that's, I believe it's over in Vaughan. Let's see, Vaughan. Yeah, where you can kind of see, although the aerial is not always in line with some of our boundary stuff, this is a pretty obvious mismatch. And so people who are looking at boundaries in reference to an overlay such as an aerial, it's hard to kind of read this, and it's hard to get maybe some accurate information, especially when you're using these sort of things for professional reference. And so what we were able to do, we took out a $25,000 grant for a contract with KLJ. And as you can see here, something like this, you can see kind of the boundary right here. It should be more in line with you can kind of see the boundary of that hub station. And so that will shift. I mean, when these corrections go through, when we have these monuments, these corrections will go through and make what a lot of it you folks probably see in cadastral a lot more accurate. And you'll probably, if you ever ventured out, and you might see some of these anomalies that we're trying to fix. And it really is a little bit more important than just visual representation. It goes down to actually, creating these boundaries with as much accuracy as we can handle. So, and so what we did, how we broke out this grant was we had the surveyor go out with his the GNSS module, which is basically a tool that gets that really accurate GPS coordinate. But on the other hand, we offered up our in-kind work to find a lot of stuff what surveyors have filed as they're called as corner records. Those corner records are monument records. They actually have a recording of what's there. And so in my in-kind work, I either photograph or scan these corner records, put in a lot of hours, and as part of the grant agreement, the statement of work, put in a lot of hours going, and you can see our Cascade County kind of a old-timey record keeping there, just kind of a neat thing going in there. But I find these corner records and I scan and take photos of them. And I'll send them back to the library for their hardworking GIS people to enter that into the software to eventually get those things more dialed in. So, and here's a bit of what I kind of come across when I'm doing my in-kind work. It's a kind of a tedious process, but it's really worth it in the long run. Basically just looking up corner records in a grid, finding them in a file system. Here's an example of one I found with kind of a funky little diagram, but it's giving some accurate information as far as, you know, bearings and distances. And so when the state library goes in and looks at this corner record, they're able to see some of these references, you know, and be able to shift or enter information to eventually shift those corners to a more accurate representation, which is really going to help me in my job and help the county in their job, private industry in their job. And it's just really a great program. I couldn't say more positive things about it, but and I really can't wait to see Cascade County and Cadastro and the PLSS get really really just looking good. But really this has been an ongoing collaboration, and it's too bad that it's on hiatus right now, but it's been an ongoing collaboration between Cascade County and the state. And I know a number of GIS people who I work with in the public sector who've used this and have been using it for years and just made their software products better and better, which trickles down to people doing better work in in the public sphere, and people doing better work in the private, and just day-to-day citizens, you know, getting the correct information they can with their properties. And we're pretty unique here in Montana that we have this great tool, because a lot of states don't. But I think that's kind of it in a nutshell. I hope I made it sort of clear as to why it's important. I didn't want to get in the weeds with anything, but if any of you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Aaron. That was great.
Good. Right.
Thank you, Aaron.
You're welcome. Sure.
Thank you, Aaron. Does anybody have any questions? Any commissioners?
I've got a question for maybe Matt.
Okay. Tom, go ahead.
So this grant has been ongoing in Cascade County and Great Falls in particular. How many other grants do we have that are kind of like that in other parts of the state? Have we granted?
Cumulatively or within the past year?
Let's say in the past year for now.
I believe, well, they're in different stages of development, and maybe Evan can help me if I'm wrong, but I want to say that we have roughly 3 other PLSS control grantees. Hang on, I'm looking at some information that we have. And I don't project manage all those. We do have different project managers, but we had Blaine County, the Fort Peck Assiniboine tribes, Sioux tribes had a PLSS grant, as well as, or at least they applied for one. They weren't successful in going forward with it. And I believe it was, yeah, those are the only 2 other control grants we had for this year. Although we tend to have quite a few, usually it's almost half of the amount of grants that we do have, but they're a substantial quantity. It's a very popular grant.
So follow up, Madam Chair and Matt. It sounds like it has great benefits to the public and to public agencies and citizenry, probably in law and in I don't know, maybe accounting and natural resources and all kinds of things. If this was done statewide, it would be maybe 30 times what's being granted out to accomplish the same improvements in accuracy if we did it for all of Montana.
Matt, would
thoughts
you
on
like me
that?
to step in?
Yes, Evan, I would love for you to step in.
Yeah.
I think it would be above that, but
Yes. And I don't have the number for you, Tom, but we did generate that number actually prior to last session. And so I can get that number and get that to you, but it is much higher, as Matt indicated.
So the bottom line is these things are beneficial, but they come with a cost. So they have to be measured on a cost benefit ratio. And so we just kind of, we grant these things as money's available to the best grant applicants, I guess. Is that a good way of saying it?
I think so. And to give you some idea, while I can't remember the exact number as far as cost or numbers of projects, I know that over time I have sat down and just looked at the pace of the programs that we've done in the past, and just said, well, how long will it take us to do everywhere? And it's well over 100 years, if that helps.
Follow-up question. So Aaron said that this is really beneficial, and I forget what prompts this question, but how unique are you there in Great Falls compared to the average city of 80,000 in America in the capacity to do this level of accuracy?
Unique in the way of obtaining these monuments is that there's a lot of open land, there's a lot of private land. And that provides a little challenge for the surveyor where they need to get permissions to get on people's private property. That can be a little bit of an obstacle. In city, around the city, it's usually not too difficult because a lot of these things fall in the right of way. And they're usually kind of accurate already. But yeah, the surrounding areas, it might be unique just because of a lot of the open land situations and a lot of the travel. You know, from Montana, when we travel, it's long distances. So a lot of these surveyors have to travel long distances. But as far as costs are concerned, I get a good beat of how much is being spent by what the library has in kind of open, like in past contracts, to see how much is being budgeted, which is really nice. And also what they're after, the verbiage and stuff like that, I don't have to reinvent the wheel because all these people, we're all after the same sort of thing. And so when the grant submission process goes really easy, but uniquely, yeah, I think we're all kind of in the same boat in which we have a lot of open lands and stuff like that. If that kind of gets to where you're talking about.
Well, how much better are we than our neighbors?
I don't really know what other states are doing, to be honest. Maybe Evan knows, maybe Idaho as kind of a similar analog state.
I'm not even sure how I'd go about measuring that, but
that's fine.
Yeah.
We're just better because we are.
Well, and one thing certainly is few are states that have cadastral application programs like the state of Montana has. We were one of the first states to offer such a public offering and an application that allows that. I don't know if you can say that for our neighboring states, although I haven't done a lot of analysis with that. But I know we have other states that are definitely jealous of our efforts.
I had a question, Madam Chair, for Matt or Aaron. Are there other agencies, departments, companies doing what we're doing? Is there some, if there are we sharing information, not repeating, overlapping, copying?
I may let Evan step in, but to say that no, we are the sole agency in the state of Montana that grants funds for these sorts of control grants. And additionally, we share, being that these underpin our framework layers that are shared with the entirety of the state of Montana, they are using our data. The intention is to avoid duplication of this work. Evan, is there anything you'd like to add?
I can't think of anything else to add to that.
But there aren't other departments or agencies that are also collecting the cadastral information or the mapping or any of that? Are they?
I would add that we do work closely with agencies like the Montana Department of
Yeah.
Transportation. There are other organizations and agencies that collect survey control. They have surveyors that are going out and collecting that control. And MDT is example of a great partner that when they collect that control, they make sure that that information is submitted to us so it can be included in cadastral, updating class cadastral, so that we have more accurate information and it's not duplicated. We also, it's one of the reasons why we work very closely with the Montana Association of Registered Land Surveyors, so that they know if they're out working on projects, they can submit control points to us. Just recently, a surveyor submitted, I think it was around 11 or 1200 points to us, which was something that was huge for our staff to get that information. And that's based on our ability to make those kinds of relationships and those kinds of asks.
So with the state agencies, there's not so much duplication as we're sort of the spearheaded point for it.
Yep.
Okay. And then, because I know we talked about it one of our last meetings, I think when we had the report on this whole process that one time that we had our work session, that John Deere has built-in equipment to do much of this mapping, and so does the other big one, Red.
Yeah.
International Harvester.
Well-
And in fact, it was on the news that the Montana Farmers Association wanted to know who was doing that, where it came from. So one of them came from China, one of them came from Russia, and who's getting the information on that. And so I think there are companies or businesses maybe doing this too, but
It's a little bit different.
Different.
That equipment is connecting to GPS satellites to help manage their operations. But in that process, they're not creating mapping that would then be available for people to use. So a little bit different. This work really relies on surveyors going out and surveying areas.
or
and-
if they're connecting mapping information, they're not giving it to us.
It's not for the public. It's for
Uh-huh.
people that purchase that service. So, but we don't have to purchase
Mhm.
the cadastral,
Right.
anybody can get on and use it. But to get on to John Deere and, yeah, they charge.
It's a little trickier finding monuments than just using like GPS units and stuff. What I'd like to see if it were ever to come to fruition is to actually have some sort of a mandated operation where surveyors would have to submit their digital monument collection to the county, and the county would have a way of ingesting that information. So you wouldn't have to go look it up like I did, or we wouldn't have to task them to look it up. And if they just came across monuments and had that information, there'd be a digital submission, which I think there is a type, but it's kind of like based on whether they want to or not, or they have the time.
I think one other point I'd add in here is that we've talked about this all in terms of collecting points. And certainly that is the bulk of what happens in these processes. But I was really glad Aaron showed the research that is done. There are other pieces of this that come to light sometimes when we collect the points. Sometimes collecting the points alone doesn't remedy a situation, and there's been something that I don't know how to describe it quickly. Our term is COGO'd in wrong. The data, when originally collected, was not properly processed to be put into the system. And these can cause big problems. And sometimes we see that before. And in that situation, it's a research project, which may also involve some point collection. But other times, it's after collecting the points, we recognize that there are additional issues going on in an area. So those aren't really factored into those time estimates of what it would take to do statewide, and can get costly. As you can imagine, research does take time.
Any other questions for the gentleman, or? Thank you so much for all the information. It was very interesting.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go on now. Jenny will present the state library reports.
Thank you, Commissioner. So you have in your materials a link to our FY24 work plan dashboard, as well as your web analytics report. Just a reminder that since we're in the middle of the fourth quarter, we don't have your fourth quarter reports for you yet. You'll see those at your August meeting. And the other note I wanted to make was about the web analytics report. You've probably noted a slight uptick in the number of broken links that we're reporting. That's because of a substantial amount of work that staff are currently doing to help create more efficient information access through our website. And that cleanup work has caused us to change a lot of the programming. So staff are aware of those broken links and working to correct those as they continue to try to update the efficiency of information access through our website. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that.
Any questions? Is that it, Jenny, for that? Okay. All right, let's go on then to our annual business calendar.
Wanted to make the commission aware that for your August meeting, again, as I said, we will have your fourth quarter reports from this fiscal year. We don't have a lot of other business items for your August meeting outside of your regular standing reports. Since this is the second year of the biennium, a lot of the work and funding is just carrying forward from this current biennium. So at this point, I'm not anticipating a lot of business items for your August meeting.
Okay, so, okay. It has been suggested that possibly this could be a Zoom meeting, but then some of us also said that we could possibly do a winter Zoom meeting. So we've got to kind of figure that out. Would now be the time to do that?
I think we
To
could
discuss
we
it?
could
Okay.
we could discuss it now, or just as the agendas are being developed, the commission could
Okay.
decide at that time if you'd want to meet on Zoom or wait and hold a Zoom meeting over the winter.
Okay.
I don't know that you need to decide today.
Okay, does anybody have any particular feelings about that or thoughts about that, about when the Zoom meeting should be?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Carmen?
as somebody who has to drive quite a distance, I would absolutely vote for aiming for a terrible weather meeting and putting that on Zoom.
I'm there with you. Okay. Anyone else have a comment about that?
Well, I feel like I haven't been thorough about this because I know there were items that we asked to discuss at future meetings and none of them are, I'm not remembering right now what any of them were. So I'll have to go back to my previous meetings. I know Jenny say, you always have kept a list of that. I've kept a list and I'll have to go back and look, but it seems to me we had some issues that we asked to bring back. And this might be a good time to do that.
In August, you mean?
Yes, but I'm right now just sort of at a loss for what some of them were.
I
Yeah.
can think
Go
of
ahead.
one that we need to work on as the personnel committee or such, but we need to work on the
The evaluation.
The evaluation.
because
Yes.
that will be coming up,
Yes.
we'll be needing to do
Yes.
it. So, and the governor mentioned using the states
Yes, he did.
during
when-
his last presentation. So I think we need to, they're
Hmm.
using their process more. So I think we need to explore that also.
Mhm.
That was one item we said we bring forward. Thank you,
Right.
Peggy. It was that there were some services they provided that we could have and not double up on. And I know the budget we had agreed that was too complex to have done by them, but I think there were 2 or 3 other items that we said we should discuss. At least take a look at working on those together.
Yes. Services provided by the,
I think Commissioner Hall might be referring to the study that our interim budget committee is looking at, and that committee hasn't met since before your April meeting. They meet again next week. So we'll have more information about that study after they meet next week.
I think it was HR and graphics, not legal. Legal might have been part of it. Yes, legal was one of them. I think HR, legal, we decided not budget.
Again, that's a study that's being conducted by
Okay.
the interim budget committee.
So that would be a good thing to bring back. So
We'll share with you at your August meeting
Okay.
any updates from that hearing.
So we
and
could have an
findings.
update from that. We could talk about the evaluation form. I know I submitted one as at least a jumping off point. I don't know. I'm sure Brian has some evaluation forms that you've used at various times, and probably both of all of you folks in education have been using forms that maybe we could hand in and the committee could look them over and pick parts.
Yeah, the governor talked about it in that last,
he
last
did.
class that's now currently available to
Yeah,
stream online.
yeah, he talked about using the D of A or what the HR, the state HR uses too, like you'd said, so.
Yes,
let's
because
look
I think
into-
we found
We'll look
before
into that.
that our problem was that everything we got from the state and was sort of our head librarian evaluating her staff and her staff her, but not between us. It didn't go our direction. Us evaluating Jenny, Jenny evaluating us. That's what we need, so
Yes,
be a good thing not to leave that till the last minute. Good point, Peggy.
yes. Okay. Okay, anything else on the annual business calendar? Okay, if not, then we need to get on to elections. Do I have any nominations for chair?
I would nominate Robin for chair.
Are there any further nominations?
I want a campaign speech. No.
Do I have to?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. All right. So the nominee for chair is Robin Scribner. All those in favor of electing Robin Scribner, me, in parentheses, to the office, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, so Robin Scribner has been elected as chair. Okay. Is Elsie on? Elsie, are you on? She must not be. Okay. Okay, do I have any nominations for vice chair?
I would nominate Tom Burnett for vice chair.
Okay. Yes.
Can someone explain to me what the role of the vice chair is? I'm not quite sure what that person does.
It essentially stands in the place of the chair if the chair is not available to chair a meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And I think it's described in your bylaws, perhaps.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks, Jenny.
To
First
take the
runner up
place.
for Miss America.
Yes,
If for any reason she cannot serve her.
that's right. Well, and if I'm not able to be at the meeting, then the vice chair takes over. Okay. All right, so all those.
I think also though, in answer to that question, we have a two standing committee, or at least one standing committee where the vice chair is a member, right? That's the personnel
finance.
and the budget or the evaluation.
Is
Is that
finance? The finance?
no
Or the-
finance?
The finance committee, I would need to double
Me
check the
too.
bylaws to make
Yeah,
sure.
I
that
think
that's
I have the
stated or not.
bylaws here, but it seems to me that one of those positions does specifically refer to the vice chair. Maybe I got them, but I haven't. Anyway,
You want me to look into that here? I can see it.
no.
I think I have enough information that was.
Oh, okay, that answered. Okay, because we could probably find it, but, okay. All those in favor of voting, of electing Tom Burnett to the office of vice chair, say aye.
I,
I,
Aye, sorry. All those opposed, say no. Okay, it has been properly accepted that Tom is the vice chair.
I did find in the bylaws, the Standing Personnel Committee for the State Library is
and-
charged with evaluating the state library, and that committee shall be made up of the chair, the vice chair, and a third commissioner appointed by the chair.
Yeah, there it is. The finances.
But the finance is
the
only
chair.
you and who you appoint.
Right, okay, yep. Okay, all right. All right, thank you, everybody. Okay, is there any other business? No, I'll take public comment now. Okay, is there any public comment on any matter not contained in this agenda and that is within the jurisdiction of the State Library Commission? Seeing as there is none, let's go on to any other business or announcements.
I have one thing.
Okay.
After listening to our presentation on the GSI and our conversations today about the budget, what do the other commissioners think about pursuing what Jenny talked about, other ways to help with this situation that we are in with the shortfalls? Should we ask the staff to pursue that and investigate options? I would like to see that.
So
Based on what that, I did have a question. I forgot to ask at the time. Are other agencies, do other agencies or schools or whatever take part in the fee, the recordation fee? Is that just us, or do other people get a share of that? Are other people suffering the same reaction to that decrease?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this recordation fee is established in statute. The collection itself, I believe, is $8 or $9 per page.
Uh-huh.
$2 per page is for GIS. We get $1.50 of that. Local governments get 50 cents of that for GIS. The remainder of that goes for other purposes within local governments. So local governments are also seeing a decline in revenue because of this. They use some of those funds to help with their records management and other purposes.
So $7 goes to other funds.
So it would be
$67.
interesting, as Peggy's saying, to find out what the governor's office is proposing for that kind of a large budget deficit for all the agencies. It
Again,
isn't just us.
Yeah, these are local governments,
Right.
not state agencies. So I don't know that.
Are we the only state agency, or?
We are the only state agency. I have heard that local clerk and recorders are looking into legislation that might increase the amount that they collect. But we're the only
We're
state
the only state
agency
agency out of
that is
this.
impacted by this source of revenue.
Wow, that's interesting. And then the other, not $7 of the $9 goes to local.
It stays in the local government where those dollars are collected.
Okay, any thoughts about pursuing legislative funding, further legislative funding for or options for the GIS and any other funding that we're lacking?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
keep an eye on the coal tax.
Yeah, keep an eye on
People
the poll
need to
tax.
understand how significant that will be to us, and
Yeah.
that is schools also. That's
Yes.
not just us.
Right.
It's schools and us and anyone else that you know.
There is a significant number of state programs that are
Yeah.
funded with coal funding.
So what should we do? Do we need to take a vote, or do we just need to agree that maybe we ask the staff to look into that?
Are you looking into it anyway, I would assume, or is this an extra burden, Melissa? Or Jenny?
We haven't yet, but we certainly, we could now, and now is the time to be having those conversations with the governor's office.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Brian, just a second, Tom, Brian is,
So Peggy, are you suggesting that we revisit some of the budget requests?
No, I'm just thinking that as we're going into the session, we need to be thinking about how we can help. If this continues, who knows when the interest rates will go down? I mean, we have some great programs that we are seriously damaging because we don't have a way to fund them. So if there are alternatives that we can help in some way, let's investigate it and see what we can do with the legislature.
Okay,
Does the coal trust fund affect the Board of Regents or
I
universities?
don't think so. I don't know. I really don't know, Tammy.
Yeah, not to my knowledge, not to my knowledge. We have in the past had a presentation about coal funds and how coal funds come to the state and are distributed. So that would be something that we could have presented to this commission if you're interested.
That was something we discussed at the Federation online meetings, that the federations were seeing a real cut from the coal tax. They discussed that themselves.
That's
that
right.
that has
The
really
coal
dropped
servants
for them.
tax funds is the source of revenue for our federation funds. And, you know, historically, decades ago, we were distributing 600,000 and, you know, that was 30 years ago or more. So you're right.
Then now it's down significantly.
okay. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Carmen?
if I heard Melissa right, she definitely expects this drop to be temporary, and we're hoping for the best and preparing for the worst with the cuts that the staff so diligently searched for that have the least possible impact. Most of them look to me like they are just hold off on doing this, hold off on the hiring of the new GIS related person. Don't explore the expansion of the courier right now. Just so it doesn't sound to me like what we're doing is cutting back on programs that we are running. We are just cautiously not moving forward with an expansion. Like with the courier system, which I'm very much in favor of, and I would love it if we can cover the whole state with the courier because it's a very efficient thing to do. I am comfortable at this point to wait and see if this funding source recovers. If it doesn't, then I think we have a bigger problem. But if I read Melissa right, that's not in the past what the pattern has been. While this is a significant downturn, we also just had a really incredible high because of COVID and all these people, this influx of people into Montana and what that did to our real estate markets. So at this point, I'm comfortable just with a wait and see and not going to the legislature to fill any holes, because I think the staff has very carefully looked at where to cut so we don't really damage existing programs and existing FTEs.
Madam Chair, I agree.
I agree, yes and no. I agree with not doing that, but I also think it doesn't hurt to be proactive about other areas of, besides the legislative. I thought we were talking about possibly other grants, possibly other funding sources that might be available. I'm not sure. Peggy, were you intended just the legislature?
Well, and I just think we need to look into some options. It may never recover to the level it was. So you can't expand a GSI program if you're staying at 2024 levels for the next 10 years. So I think we need to explore options and maybe see what there could be. This could be on the radar for any number of people in the state that may want to. And if we're saying we're going to keep an eye on what's happening also, I think it's proactive is the word.
I think even if it doesn't recover, we really need to be proactive because we'll have to decide if all these cuts are permanent, if this program, if they're not gonna help with these funding, then we're gonna have to make some tough decisions about these big programs. So,
Okay, so from what I hear, the majority would like to have the staff explore
mhm.
some options. Brian, do you agree? Okay,
I mean, I'm thinking if the Montana Department of Transportation is using all this data, we're working together with them, then maybe they need to carry a share of this or
they
put more
probably
in
do,
with
but
them,
possibly maybe a little more.
more partnership with
Right.
them or somebody else's department.
Chair,
Yes,
I think it's premature to assign our staff to explore other funding mechanisms, which basically amount to tax increases or shifts from other programs at the state general fund level. I think we should wait.
Yeah, that might be, okay.
But isn't that the purpose of the interim budget process, is to start to explore things for the next session? I mean, it's going to be discussed.
The interim budget committee will know about these cuts when they meet next week. It's been reported in our financial report that the legislative staff have prepared for the legislature. So undoubtedly it will be discussed next week at the interim budget committee.
So the only remedy we see is legislative asks.
just a second, Melissa's coming.
Commissioner Cuthbertson, I think that there are lots and lots of options, not just legislative asks, but it might not hurt to just look into them and see what can be done, because there are, I mean, this kind fluctuations in funding happen all the time. And so if we just reach out to the resources that we have to just discover what options might be available, it wouldn't obligate us to anything.
Follow-up question.
Yes.
Yes. Melissa, do you see any other options besides legislative asks? I'm just not familiar with your your financial world out there.
Yeah.
I personally can't think of any other remedy that we would explore right now beyond trying a legislative ask to make up for any budget shortfall due to these low recordation fees.
Yeah, so there are definitely other options besides legislative asks, and you know, I don't want to say anything in a public meeting without having done some research, since I haven't looked into this specific issue. But I would say that yes, there are different options available outside of the legislature, and then even within the legislature that aren't permanent changes to the budget.
Madam Chair, I think one of my strong initial reactions to all this is that it's okay temporarily to be removing items from the general budget, putting them over into the Montana Geoinformation Act cuts, because we're doing this part-time, temporary, whatever, and we're trying to protect the MGIA program. But I think we're going to have to, if we don't have big changes in the future, this doesn't come back, or this continues, or the interest rates go up, heaven forbid, that we'll have to start looking at some of these things that maybe they're going to have to be permanent for a while, the cuts, not just kind of putting everything in a holding pattern. And that's the kind of thing in addition to a legislative act, maybe we're going to have to put on hold for a couple of years the uploading, the MSL staff updating cadastral data with federal, maybe we're going to have to put things like that on hold for a while till we get where this funding does come back, or they decide to give us a different source. That's what Tom, and we can wait at least till after the fall to see if there's going to be changes, or after the legislative session. But like Peg said, if they're if they're already assigned to beginning with a process to begin budget review, I would hope that in a way, by moving some of these items, Montana Library to Go, the courier service, some of the things from the heritage and the portal, then we have in a sense said some of these items within these budgets, although very, very important, can be put on hold for a while. Is that a permanent hold? Is that a temporary hold? How are, you know, those are the kind of questions that I would hope they're studying anyway.
Can I answer that?
Yes, go ahead, Carmen.
In the budget committee, we discussed the hopefully temporary nature. It was sort of, we are preparing for the worst by saying, okay, what we get is very little off of these fees right now, and we want to make sure that we don't go into the hole. And Melissa explained very carefully to us how she's doing that. I am impressed with what she was able to squeeze out of the budget that doesn't damage our basic ability to continue to function and maintain all our employees. And I am very hesitant at this point to ask the taxpayer for money. We are all in the same boat. Gas is twice as expensive. Groceries have gone up. It's the very basic costs of living that are really high right now for everyone in the state. And I don't think we can just try to make up for something by asking the taxpayer for more and more and more and more. And that's my concern. If there are other very creative ways to help the state library fill these gaps, by all means, I think that's great to minimize the damage to our agency as much as possible. But I would hate right now to try to solve this with more taxpayer burden, with more burden on the taxpayer. And that's why I'm asking the question, are we going to look for other alternatives, or are we just going to look for the remedy of legislative asks? Because I'm not going to be in favor of that. Then I'd rather have us wait and see what really happens and deal with this shortfall. And if it does not recover, then fine, let's look at all our options. But right now, I'm for wait and see, and definitely not going for legislative asks to fill the gap.
I hope I was clear in saying I agree with that, but my other options include, I'm not talking about a legislative ask. I'm talking about really closely looking at, I mean, if coal strip 1 and 2 go down, we are going to have a big loss from the coal trust fund. And it's going to affect us. We need to be ready with which areas of this. How many years are we willing to protect the MGIA whole function by taking pieces out of the general fund? Those are the questions I'm talking about. I don't think we necessarily have to leave all those big discussions till June. I think if we're going to be having them all along, it's more helpful.
And I guess I'm looking at that this is a legislative year, legislature year. That's what I am kind of looking at.
And if you don't get into the conversation now, it'll
Right.
be another 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
I think that's too late. I think we have to be
Mhm.
proactive. Even to explore. It's not saying that that will be the ask, but to explore.
Right. So from what I hear, the majority would like exploration by the staff. Okay, so I believe that we should say yes, please do.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Tom.
I think we're operating in limbo land without a motion. And I would add to the side, when these cuts were described as necessary to the budget committee about a month ago, we talked through each of them.
Weeks ago, yes.
couple weeks.
Mhm.
The staff was not saying, this is dire enough that we need to make an application to the interim budget committee or the Office of Budget and Program Planning for alternative sources of funding because this source has faltered temporarily. It was all about temporariness. And since the staff, that was not staff didn't recommend looking for new forms of funding. I think we're jumping the gun. That's my opinion on this non-motion right now.
And I would remind Tom and that nicely, but we weren't all at the budget committee. So sometimes you have to fill us in on what was discussed there. I think it was you and Robin and Carmen.
Yes.
Yeah, so you've got to let the rest of us know that you're looking at these items as just temporary through next June. If you're thinking these items are going to be temporary, you're counting on more money coming in from the present formula, or that the economy is going to jump?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'll answer Commissioner Hall. Yes, the assessment by staff, having watched this a lot longer than the members of the commission have, is that it's entirely possible. These things go up, they come down, and that it's concerning and it's very difficult to make these temporary holds, but that we should continue to rely on that funding source, which is the recordation fees.
Okay.
I would like to add one clarification if I could. I think that we should expect this trend to continue through the next fiscal year, but I don't have any way of knowing how long it will. So I just want to be clear that I'm not.
You're hoping that it's temporary.
Right. And I think that based on the trend and what we are hearing will happen in the next year with interest rates, that we should at least count on this trend to continue through the next year. But I have no way of knowing, and nobody does, when there will be a change in the direction, a rebound in this funding. So I just want to be clear about that. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
And along with what Carmen was sharing, I would just say that I think when you're following trends that we're just trying to maybe get some information from, I would point to the school elections, which were remarkable in the taxpayers saying no to future spending. I mean, Bozeman passed theirs, but the elementary was only 1,500 votes, which sounds like a lot, but it's not for Bozeman. Missoula passed theirs by less than 0.5%. It was under 1%. It was by half, not even. And then Butte, Kalispell, Belgrade, Billings, and Helena all defeated theirs. Great Falls did not ask for additional funding. And so of all, one didn't ask, one squeaked by, one got by, which Bozeman tends to do, and 5 defeated. That's big by the taxpayers. We better be listening to them saying, right now people are hurting. And right now they're not real excited about future taxes. So at least within this realm of this year, they've spoken pretty loud in ways we can at least look at and count as taxpayer voices.
So should I ask for a motion then to continue on and look at these other options, or are we okay with just?
What I'm hearing, and I'm not sure I'm hearing right, but what I'm hearing from Melissa and Jenny is this process is going on anyway. They're always looking. No.
We wouldn't look for additional funding sources without the direction from the commission.
Okay. Is there any hope of it? I mean, I won't waste your time beating up.
Well, I don't know that it hurts to just research and know more. I don't think that more information is going to hurt. It's not, like I said, obligating us to anything. But But we would not go to the governor's office or reach out to other partners and search for new sources of funding without direction from the commission.
Okay, I think that I'm going to ask for a motion then to further search out options.
I would move that the commission directs the staff to do the research and into options for funding sources.
I would like to propose an amendment.
Well, it hasn't even.
Just a second, it hasn't been seconded.
I would ask clarification. Is that including a legislative ask or not?
It's just looking
Because-
into things. It doesn't have, it's not leading to a specific request. Exploring options.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it just so we can talk about the motion.
Have it on the screen just a second. Make sure.
Funding sources, maybe? Library staff to do the
Research for
potential
alternate.
funding sources.
And then Brian seconded it. Okay. Carmen, go ahead.
I would like to amend the motion and add to exclude legislative asks or excluding legislative asks.
I would second that amendment.
And then Tammy seconded it. Okay, so do we want to discuss the amendment?
I'm gonna vote no, because I don't know how you can know what that would be. I mean, there are different legislative asks or processes and what if, yeah, I don't know how you can see that in the future, that might not be the source. So I just don't think it's realistic to include that clause.
May I give the reason for my amendment?
Yes, go ahead, Carmen.
I don't see how a legislative ask can never be funded any other way but by squeezing more money out of Montana taxpayers. And for the reasons I gave previously, I am in this current climate, economically and with inflation, I just cannot condone squeezing Montana taxpayers for more money. And that's my reason why I'm making this amendment. I'm absolutely in favor of researching avenues for us to prepare for the recordation fees to remain low and see what we can do to combat the loss of funding there. But I'm absolutely against asking the taxpayer right now to stop, to fill that gap, because I think Melissa and staff have done an excellent job of cutting money out of our budget that doesn't make our organization collapse and does not force us to let people go. And I'm very comfortable with that. So that's my reason for this amendment.
Any other comments?
Madam Chair, I support the amendment and note that our reliance on recordation fees, as any other public agency that relies on a dedicated funding source, is putting themselves into peril of that source not being perpetual. And so that was understood at the beginning when this mode of funding was envisioned. And public agencies need to be prepared to adjust when their funds droop. I'll support the amendment.
Any further comment? Okay. So the amendment reads, there's been amendment by Carmen Cuthbertson to move to add the motion excluding legislative asks. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say no.
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 And I abstained. Okay, so it has been moved. No, it has been. Sorry, excuse me for giggling. That was unprofessional.
I think that was.
Okay, so it has been moved to add the motion to the amendment to direct. Just a second, let me get Jenny's copying and pasting for once to help me out here. Hey, it. Both, I think.
Madam Chair, I believe the motion passed. It had 3 positives.
Yes, yes, it did. I'm just trying to figure out how to say it. Oh, okay.
Amendment passed.
Yeah, okay, there it is. Yeah, that it did.
Sorry, I had it switched in my head.
So the amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion now reads, we'll move to direct the state library staff to do research for alternative funding excluding legislative asks. And that has been passed by okay. So I am going to ask for a vote.
And could I ask a question of Tom or Carmen? Sharing as we've all shared that we don't want to do this with legislative asks at this point, but I don't have a problem if, for example, the Montana Department of Transportation is willing to pick up more of the funding for the cadastral as they're using it as much, or if there's federal money for the Montana Geospatial Information Act because they're all promoting it and it's new, or corporations are willing to work with us on it and they're willing to help fund it. Are you against those kinds of sources? Or are you saying, I mean, it seems to me if we don't get new sources for some of this, we're gonna have to make some tough cuts on it, which we'll have to do. But I just need help from you because you voted for the amendment. So before I vote for the motion, I need to know.
May I answer that?
Yes, I would appreciate help.
I absolutely think it's prudent to look around and be proactive in case the recordation fees don't bounce back sufficiently.
Or the trust fund.
As I said before, I do not at this point wish to further burden the taxpayer. If there's other creative ways, if there are other sources, I would welcome the staff's input and their creativity and their ideas. They know the world of grants and other options far better than I do. If they find alternative sources and we do not have to make some of these cuts, that would be great. I just do not want it at this point to, I do not want the gap filled with additional money squeezed from Montana taxpayers. And that's why the amendment to the motion, and that's why I will vote yes on the amended motion, because I think being proactive is good and researching alternative funding sources does not hurt, even if our funding bounces back. Who knows to what level it will? And maybe then we'll have something up our sleeve to return to excellent funding for the GIA and all the stuff that the staff has managed to cut out at this point.
And Madam Chair, I'll answer Tammy.
Okay, go
This limits to some of the things that you mentioned as possible funding sources, which are pretty limited. So the staff doesn't have a lot of possibilities, but it's okay to think about it.
May I say something else here?
Yes, go ahead.
I also think it would be deceptive of me if I didn't voice this opinion very strongly now. I don't want staff to go off and put together legislative asks, you know, thinking I am behind them on that. That would be dishonest. I'd rather let the staff know now that I would not support a legislative ask that they come up with now if we send them out to research. So I think it's more honest to let them know now, yes, by all means, if there's other sources of funding, present them to us as an option, but I will say no, I will vote no on a legislative ask at this point. And I just think it's honest to put that out there now instead of having the staff waste their time doing research that I would then be against.
And I think the motion made that clear with the amendment for the staff. That's why I think the amendment was crucial at this point. We need to be honest about that. But I have had friends tell me that, and people very, very informed in the computer business with big computer companies that are based in Bozeman even, that the whole cadastral is a wide open, the geospatial information, and that whole is a wide open field right now. And there are a lot of businesses, corporations, companies, grants, all kinds of stuff. So we just want to make sure we're not missing out on that.
Okay. And is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair, can we put a period after asks? Because that includes the motion. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll now vote on the motion, which is to move to direct the state library staff to do research for alternative funding sources excluding legislative asks. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say no. Okay, the motion to direct the state library staff to do research for alternative funding sources excluding legislative asks has been passed by a voice vote. Right, is there any other business?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to get further direction from the commission. We've been asked previously to explore options for legal services other than our agency legal services agreement. And at the end of this month, our current agreement expires. I have reached out to the governor's office and been told that there is a way to formally request what would be essentially outside counsel. And so I was just looking for clearer direction from the commission on whether or not that's something you want staff to pursue.
Madam Chair, I would be definitely in favor of trying to pursue having legal help or opinions representing the commission, clearly representing what we need from the governor's office or other departments, that maybe the Department of Justice. I would be very much in favor of that. I feel personally there's a clarity of understanding that has to be pursued, that we need legal advice that's for the commission.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Tom?
if I understand the state librarian's statement, it infers that we would be seeking counsel outside of state government, and that would be a budget increase.
No, I didn't hear that.
I don't know the specifics of it. I just know that there's a formal process that agencies can, if I understand correctly, go through to request alternative sources of legal counsel other than agency legal services. And so my next step, depending on your action, would be to then go back to the governor's office and go through that formal process.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
My preference would be that we continue to patronize agency legal services on a rotating basis among their available attorneys.
Did you discuss that with, go ahead.
My understanding is agency legal services currently only has 2 attorneys on staff. It's something that we could potentially talk about if we look at amending our MOU with them, if that's a course of action that you would prefer.
Madam Chair, I was under the opinion earlier on, Peggy made a really good reference to the fact that at the next meeting, we were going to discuss the State Department suggestion from the governor's office that some of these services that we are presently getting could be obtained through the governor's office, and such as they said, the bookkeeping, the budgeting, the legal services, the HR services, and we were going to look at those. So I think that that's already something we're looking at, Tom. I was not interested in an extra expense of going out of house per se to get that information. I think we've already, at least under my time on this commission, have agreed that we were not going to ask for our own attorney and hire somebody separate for us. But I have felt in the past that the people that have been representing us didn't understand they were representing the commission. And we really do need a legal source for us, so we stay out of some kind of accidental trouble. Is that what you were thinking, Tom, that we maybe look at resources within the governor's office? Or Carmen, what do you think?
Commissioner Hall, I'm not sure about what other things exist besides agency legal services. So I'm not much help.
That's why the governor asked that we look at what they asked I think it was the Legislative Resources Committee, that we consider working together with the governor's office on this. And we asked for that to be brought back. So it's under study, I guess. Is that right, Jenny? Is that
It's
how
under
you're-
study. The services from the Department of Administration that small agencies like the State Library could consider taking advantage of is under study by the legislature right now. And, but, we don't yet know the outcome of that legislation. I think what would probably be easiest is for us to continue to pursue an agreement with agency legal services and explore options for getting different attorneys assigned, or other means of making it very clear that agency legal services is addressing Commissioner Hall's concerns.
I think since we just talked about budget cuts, it does not seem prudent to go outside of agency legal services. I cannot imagine that we could find legal representation at a better cost, but I don't actually know. Maybe that's something, Jenny, that you could look into for us. I'm assuming going outside of state agency legal services would cost the state library more. And that doesn't make sense to me right now to incur such an expense.
I think that's a
but if
really
you could-
fair assumption.
Okay, okay. So then I think we should talk about this again, maybe in August, when we look at other state services that we
Have their meeting.
take advantage of, and we just consider that one that we might want to continue. Do we have an agreement that runs out sooner? Are we under a timeline?
Our current agreement runs out at the end of this month
With the state agency.
with Agency Legal Services.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I guess I was looking at it differently, Carmen. I assume because it came from the Legislative Study Commission, who wanted us to look at sharing this with the governor's office, that it was a money saver. That they were looking at agencies like us or commissions, not duplicating what's available with them.
I think that is the intent of the
Yeah,
legislative
that's how
study.
I looked at it.
However, the study won't be concluded in time for us to determine whether or not we should sign an agreement with Agency Legal Services. And just to be clear, that agreement is just for one fiscal year. So we could sign an agreement for this fiscal year. I appreciate Carmen's concerns about the fiscal constraints. And then by this time next year, when we're evaluating whether or not to renew, we would have clearer guidance from the conclusion of this study.
And that seems to answer what Jenny was bringing up. Jenny was bringing up, and we've got two issues in front of us that are related but have to be handled separately. And one is continuing our legal services either from the outside or from agency. I personally would stay with agency. And the other is to pursue this request by the legislative commission to look at, would we save money, all these agencies, by working with the governor's office on some of these duplicated jobs. So I think we have to handle them separately. Peggy put the one on the August agenda, and I think, Jenny, are you asking today if this is going to run out at the end of the month? It would seem to me you need some action from us today to continue with Agency Legal Services. Does that have to be notified and done by a Zoom call, or is that?
I don't know that we necessarily need action because it's continuing our normal course of business. I was just responding to concerns that commissioners had expressed about Agency Legal Services and
So it's not a
wanting to
legal
know.
contract or
No.
anything, we just are continuing.
We would continue our memorandum of understanding with them if that suffices.
So I personally support both concepts. I support continuing right now with Agency Legal Services, but also pursuing what it looks like from the Legislative Study Commission to know if we can combine certain jobs with the governor's office in the future. And that'll be on the August.
That sounds good to me. How does it sound to everybody? Is that all right?
That sound everybody.
Okay, all right. Other business? Okay, I guess we can adjourn because I
Now,
believe we followed.
Can I ask if we can move up the meeting? If we're ahead, are we ahead here or pretty close? We're supposed to meet with them at 2:15 and it's only,
Right, no, we will. They're here.
okay, we could.
Yeah,
move that.
so we will be moving them up. I believe they were already talked to about that, correct?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so they're willing to meet with us early, but
And is that public? Is that going to be audio taped or on Zoom or anything?
We'll have it on Zoom so that Carmen and Tom can participate. I don't know that we'll record it, but it is a public meeting since we have a quorum, and doing it on Zoom will allow Carmen and Tom to participate.
So I just thought if we were gonna meet earlier, we probably need to notify that we will be meeting earlier if.
I think we're okay. We're gonna adjourn the business meeting.
Mhm.
We're gonna break for lunch
for half an hour,
and then come back and have that meeting.
Okay,
half an hour or a little bit longer?
half an hour should be plenty.
Half an hour? Pardon me? Okay, perfect. Okay. So if there is no further business or announcements or discussion, we will adjourn the meeting, and I need a motion to do that.
I so move.
Okay, can I have a second? Okay, it has been moved and seconded that the June 2024 meeting of the Montana State Library Commission is adjourned, and it is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.